94.3 WYBC, the rhythm of the city. I am Wanda Coppage, back with you on a Sunday evening with another great interview. Great conversation is what I like to say. And I'm sure you very well know this young lady. I'm going to say young lady, Dr. Chaka Felder. And for the longest time, I was calling you Shaka, like Shaka Khan.
I am named after Chaka Khan, but it's Chaka Khan. It's not Shaka Khan. It's Chaka Khan.
it, Listen, we learn something every day. Now I got
It's
to
Chaka
correct how
Khan,
I say
Chaka
her
Khan.
name.
Let me rock you, Chaka Khan. It's Chaka Khan, Chaka Khan. Let me rock you, Chaka Khan. It's not Shaka, 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 right?
I you,
See?
you know we hear what we want to hear because I've been saying Shaka. All right, this is if you didn't know, this is Dr. Chaka Felder McIntyre. I'm going to be speaking with her today. You know who she is and what she does, but if you do not, she's the owner of Higher Elevations Consulting. She is the founder of Higher Heights Youth Empowerment Programs, the Connecticut College Access, which we are going to speak more in depth about as we get into the conversation. Over 20 plus years of being every woman. That sums it up. Let's just start there. And you have a heart of service. Yes, this is true. Heart of service, a heart to help. And I have to ask, this is how I know I've never spoken to you in depth before because I don't know this. Where are you from originally?
Harlem, New York.
Harlem, New York. Okay. And when did you come to
Yeah.
Connecticut?
2001, 2002.
Okay. And what
Yep.
brought
Moved
you
to
this
moved to
way?
Connecticut. I was recruited to be a school counselor, and started working as a school. Moved to New Haven immediately when I got here,
Okay.
and started working as a school counselor and in Bridgeport. And from there, everything just it was amazing from there. So I can go on and on and on about that lovely experience. But I definitely have always had a gift to work with high school students specifically. I
Okay.
come from a family of servers of service. My dad was a New York City police officer. My mother was a New York City public school teacher. So this definitely was something that was in my cards.
Nice. What about entrepreneurs? Where did that stem from for you?
So my great grandfather was an entrepreneur. He owned one of the very few businesses in North Carolina in the town that they were in. And so I think that's where entrepreneur spirit came from. My mother definitely
Mhm.
tells me all the time, it's not her wheelhouse. It wasn't my dad's wheelhouse. Um, but I think it just kind of like it skipped a couple of generations
Generations. Yeah.
and came right over to me. So I have two twin brothers. Where I'm not a twin, they're twins.
Okay.
But the three of us are entrepreneurs in our own right. The three of us all own businesses, or either multiple businesses, and do various things. So, and honestly, I think I'm not taking anything away from Connecticut because this is home right now. But I
Yeah.
really think it was the time that I grew up in Harlem that really like spurred that entrepreneur spirit inside of me. That people say I always talk fast, I walk fast, I do everything fast, I always got things going on.
That's that
But
New
I think it's
York
just a
because
heart
it's
for
busy. Well, I'm
yeah,
glad. I'm glad you got a chance to bring that spirit to Connecticut, specifically New Haven, though. And you said your mom was a school teacher. So how soon or early in life did you recognize that you were definitely going to go into education?
So on days off that I didn't have to go to school, I grew up in Harlem, 134th Street, 8th Avenue. My mother's school was 2 blocks up. On days that I didn't have school, because I didn't go to the same school that my mother taught at, my mother made me sit in her classroom.
Mm.
She was a fourth grade teacher. Um, and some of the people, certain grades, like I remember a time period, I was the same age, and she had her class, and like there's students who were in that class because we were the same age, like we're still friends to this day. So, it's
Wow.
always Miss Jackson, Miss Jackson. Like I'm Chaka, her name is Miss Jackson.
Mm.
Um, but I knew that I did not want to be a school teacher specifically,
Right.
but my prayer, Wanda, always is this. I always knew that I wanted to be known in the community, but I wanted all the kids to know me. I think that was my wish when I was younger. Didn't know what to do with that, but that was my wish.
And did you speak that over with your parents? Did they kind of guide you into counseling? No?
No, no. My grandmother wanted me to be an interior designer or an architect. So she would always buy me Architectural Digest magazines and that
She was going
subscription.
all in.
And so, because I at a point I really did love interior design. But when I got to college, I went to Buffalo State College in Buffalo, New York. And I studied business. That was my major, but I minored
Okay.
in African American studies and economics. It was the economics courses and the African American study courses that started to bridge a different perspective from me on life. And when I graduated, I wanted to earn my master's degree in a program that allowed me to put all three of those things together. And it was nothing that was that existed at the time.
Mhm.
Um, and so I thought I wanted to go get my MBA. That didn't happen. But Canisius College had a master's in organizational development and communication. So
Nice.
think about that, an organizational development and communication master's degree. That blended a world for me that I never imagined before, a world of entrepreneurship, of communication, of development, of project management, like all those different pieces. And then I started working locally at the YWCA there and realized that I also had a connection with high school students. No, it was a Boys and Girls Club. It was a Boys and Girls Club. And realized that I
Okay.
had a connection with students. And I said, well, like, what can I do to be with kids? But I really want to do business. I want to do like economics and all these different things. And I want to build things. And so Kanisha still had another master's degree in school counseling and human services. So I was in two master degree programs at the same time because for me,
Wow.
I was trying to take something out of one program and something out of another program because I knew I wanted something. I just didn't know what it was yet.
Mhm.
And so when I graduated from both of those programs, I went to a college fair in Brooklyn. I'm sorry, yeah, no, a job fair in Brooklyn, and got recruited on the spot by a couple of districts to be a school counselor because at that time, by then I was certified as a school counselor. I had options for Hawaii, Baltimore, all places. Chose Connecticut, and this is where everything, all the magic happened.
Yeah, so when did you said when you got the did the double masters, it's still what didn't click just yet what that was going to be for you. So then when you became a school counselor, you're here in Connecticut. When did it all come together for you?
Well, as soon as I became a school counselor, um, I remember my supervisor telling me like I was moving really fast, and well, I'm a New Yorker, right? Um, got to know all my kids very quickly, understood like the way schools function and they work, and because I have an analytical brain,
Mhm.
I saw automatically like what was happening to students who were missing the process, who were being overlooked in schools because we just didn't have the resources. So while I was in Buffalo for graduate school, I actually, and I don't know if this is going to connect with you or with anyone else who's going to hear this, but I need to start telling this story a lot more because it's how everything happened. While I was in Buffalo, I remember God gave me a vision to
Mhm.
write out a program, an organization that I wanted to start. And I wrote on like a 8.5 yellow, the pads.
The legal
And I
pads, yep.
wrote
Mhm.
out everything like a notebook. Yep. I wrote out everything. It was a youth empowerment program, is what I named it. Youth empowerment program. And I wrote pages and pages and pages of what I wanted this program or this organization to look like. I could visually see brick and mortar, what it would look like, everything. I didn't know where all that came from. I don't.
Right.
But I wrote it all out. When I came to Connecticut, saw what was happening in the schools, went back to this notepad and I said, oh, this is about to happen. So took a couple of, I knew I had a business brain, started doing some research of some connections and how the city works in New Haven and how to start a nonprofit. I did the paperwork and incorporation and like all of those different things. Started Higher Heights with 25 students the
Hmm.
second year that I moved here, the second year. We were already, I
Wow.
was already a nonprofit by then, had all my business documents done by then. Within a year's time, it happened very, very, very fast. But I had the vision already written out. The
Mm-hmm.
vision was already written, Wanda. I just needed to implement it. But I didn't know at that time when I wrote it when the implementation was going to happen, how, who was going to be at the table to help me. I didn't even think about that. It didn't even like, it didn't dawn on me. I just wrote it all out. It's kind of like you're journaling and you have a
Yeah.
thought and you just, and that's what happened to me. And I really know that that was just God giving me my purpose, giving me my assignment, and I had to write it all down. Now, when I was going to pick it back up again, who knew? Because I didn't even know what I was writing.
He
um,
would reveal it to you though.
he revealed it to me a couple of years later. It must have been about maybe three years later or so, three and a half years later. So Higher High started with 25 students. I had students coming up to New Haven from Bridgeport, a couple of students from
Wow.
New Haven. Um, and it was just 25 students. And I had met a young gentleman at Yale who had told my ideas to. And he's like, oh, I'll help you. I'll be a volunteer and I'll be a tutor, the SAT test prep tutor for you. That's what we did for about 2 years. The first year, 25 students, the second year, 50 students, the third year, 100 students, 100 students. Now,
Nice.
20 years later, we're at 10,000 students. We're statewide. We've helped over those 10,000 students, we've helped them secure over $800 million in scholarships and grants. And so, like I tell people all the time, it's so important for you to know, or at least to sit down in quiet space to
Mm-hmm.
understand what your purpose is. Because as much as my grandmother wanted me to be an interior designer, that
That's
was
not your
not
portion.
that was not my fortune. That was not my purpose. It also wasn't my purpose to be a police officer. It wasn't my purpose to be
Right.
specifically a teacher, right? Um, but yeah, and it started, and so I always stay connected
Mm-hmm.
as a school counselor. I worked as a school counselor and always had Higher Heights as well. And then with my degrees in education, I started moving up and became a school administrator, became a district administrator. And
Wow.
now those opportunities and those networks, I'm doing Higher Heights at its highest level full time now.
That's what I was just going to ask. Is this now full time? Or are you still doing both the school system, just higher heights? I love that. So when you were talking about creating the plan, writing down the vision before you were even led to where you were going to implement this, it was just a thought. It brought me to or reminded me of a sermon by Bishop T.D. Jakes. One of my favorite sermons I keep on repeat is called Brought by a Thought, because it starts so
Mhm.
small, but then God will build on it. He's just asking you to follow. So I love that story. And if you're just tuning in, listeners, this is Dr. Chaka Felder McIntyre. Chaka, I just learned that. So we don't know what you wrote down in your plan for your vision. We know that you assist with high school students on their way to school, SAT prep, college prep, and on
Right.
a greater scale, a larger scale, break down to us everything that Higher Heights has to offer.
Yeah. So Higher Heights, like I told you, it started as a small after school program. We're not that anymore. We have a full staff team. We
Hmm.
partner with school districts. We're in school buildings to help expand what looks and feels like for post-secondary success. So folks think, oh, it's just about college. No, like we're getting kids into
Okay.
trade schools. We're getting kids into the military. whatever post-secondary success looks like for students, that's our job. We're in 3 urban districts here in the state that we're happy to support, and we're expanding into other school districts as well. So on average, we support about 1,000 students every single year. We also have partnerships with tons of people. I know we joked offline about this, but we're partnered with um, the Connecticut HBCU alumni group. We're Connecticut with Waterbury Promise. We're partnered with
Nice.
Waterbury Bridge to Success. We're partnered with like so many different organizations. We partner with the state Department of Education with the FAFSA challenge to support all of the turnaround schools in Connecticut around educating students around the FAFSA. Earlier today, we just held a webinar for 127 school counselors around what the college application landscape looks like right now for Connecticut
Mm-hmm.
after SCOTUS, right? And so like we're in a space now where yes, we support students, we'll always do that, but we're also doing professional development and training for administrators and for school counselors. We just partnered with Robert Mason, who is the founder of the Common Black College app, which is the app
Yes.
where students who want to apply for an HBCUs, like
Mhm.
we are Connecticut's liaison for that app.
I
So like
love
our
that.
job is to support to support
I
students
just
through that app.
I saw an article recently on BET.com about him and about that program. I think he won some type of award or something, and he offers scholarships as well. I love that. The networking. You're in the people business. That's what you're about, and you're helping people.
We're in the
Now,
people business so that students can be successful. Yes.
and then also training the school counselors. Is that through your elevations consulting?
So it's a little bit of both. It depends on how people approach me. And
Okay.
so, predominantly, we do professional development for school counselors, but I'm also a nationally certified diversity, equity, and inclusion trainer. And so when folks come to me in that space, that's through my higher elevations consulting. I work
Okay.
very closely with Dr. Maisa Akbar with urban trauma, and we go around the country training entities, corporations around how to um, learn how to diversify their workforces, how to employ equity in their practices. I've supported organizations in Seattle, here in Connecticut, the Connecticut Children's Hospital, Yale University, and so like my again, remember right when I told you I was in graduate school, I had like
Mm-hmm.
these 2 spaces, and that still exists for me today. Those 2 spaces still exist to me today, and it's always at this juncture point. So I truly enjoy the training. I just did a training for all of the educators at Shelton Public Schools at the beginning of this
Nice.
school year around how to bring in excellence through culturally responsive classrooms and how to they as a school community can become more culturally responsive to the needs of their students in that diverse community. So it's a great space that I'm in. I absolutely love it.
I love that. I'm learning so much, and I have to go back and ask. Well, I don't want to say you chose it. What would you say happened in life to make you connect more with high school students? What was it about the high school level that you were drawn to?
When I worked for the Boys and Girls Club, I was in college. I was working in part time. I just gravitated more to high school students. I don't know. I don't know what it was, but the little ones was just a little bit more of a challenge for me. Um, and I just gravitated to the high school students. I mean, so much so, I think what it was when I was in Buffalo, a group of high school girls came up to me and said, "We want to start a mentoring program that's similar to the boys' mentoring program." So in Buffalo, there's a mentoring program called the Omega Gents, right? That's affiliated with Omega Psi Phi fraternity.
So,
And
mm-hmm.
they came up to me. I'm also a member of Delta Sigma Theta sorority. I pledged
Okay.
in undergrad in Buffalo. And the young girls came up to me. They knew me through the Boys and Girls Club, and they came up to me and like, we want to start a mentoring organization, and we want you to lead it. And I was like, what? Like, I am only, I don't know how old I was at the time. I must have been like 20, 21, something. I was like, I am trying
Wow.
to live life. I am not trying to, like, you want me to start a whole mentoring program? Wanda, when I tell you, when I look back, and I'm saying this very graciously, that program, the Omega Queens mentoring program, still exists to this day. And
Wow.
it was that mentoring program means so much to the Buffalo community, to the girls in Buffalo, New York. To this day, I am in awe of just the fact that I can say yes to when I'm supposed to say yes. And it doesn't mean you're supposed to say yes to every opportunity,
Every
but there are
mhm.
some things that you're supposed to put your all into, and you give. And like starting that mentoring program, starting Higher Heights, starting my consultancy, like those are gifts that I've been given that I'm supposed to give back to other people.
I love
So
that.
that's how I
I love it.
that's how I knew, like high
And
school kids. That's how I.
I ask because most people, not most, some of the people that I know that are in education, they say the opposite. Like, I can't do high school. High school is just too ruthless for me. High school students, so that's why, as you went the opposite direction, your case is
I
like,
love high school.
no.
You can put me in any high school. I love high school. Okay, like love them, love them, love them, love them, love them.
And we love, the community loves how much you are putting into the high school students, especially as it relates. I know the program is bigger than this, but as it relates to getting them ready to go to college, you do a lot with that. In fact, you have a couple of events coming up around that, and then you expanded your college access program. So that's a lot to unpack. Let's start with the Connecticut College Access. You've expanded, actually you relaunched.
Yes. So back in 2014, we started. So Higher Heights was started 20 years ago. In
Okay.
2014, I wanted to do more of the expansion of the network beyond New Haven. So we kind of put a subsidy underneath Higher Heights called the Connecticut College Access Network. It's an initiative of Higher Heights, the Connecticut College Access Network. And so we ran it for a little while, but we just recently relaunched it. And that network is to provide that level of professional development
Mm-hmm.
to like school counselors, right? So earlier today, we had our kickoff. 127 school counselors from the state of Connecticut came on board. We went through FAFSA, the college application process, the SCOTUS decision. Got really, really, really good feedback from the school counselors around this. So this is how I know there's a need for us to do this work. Um, our work will always be stable in New Haven. That is not going to go away. This Saturday, even, we have our kickoff for our, I call it the flagship program. It's how we started, right?
Okay.
So now that we're in schools, but we always have the flagship program because the community won't let me let it go. So the
Good.
flagship program is like the kids who, you know how I said we started with 25 kids on the weekends. So
Mm-hmm.
I still run that program where my staff, they're in the schools during the school day. I run the weekend program. So we're kicking it off
Nice.
this weekend. We have 50 students registered. Majority of students come from New Haven Public Schools. Majority of our students are first gen. Um, and like I get super duper excited because we go on college tours.
Yeah.
We do the whole college application process. We are educating families about FAFSA. Like it's just absolutely amazing. And then the network is like the next step up to the piece of the puzzle. So yeah,
So you're kind of guiding them from start to finish, all the way through. Now,
start to
do you stay connected with them when they are in school as well, in college?
yes, yes.
In what
Even so,
capacity? What do you do?
we're still advising them.
Okay.
So one, we're still helping them every year to complete their FAFSA because they still have to apply
You
for
do it
financial
every
aid
year.
even when they're in college.
Mhm.
But some of my students, they get a little stuck when they go to school, and some of them get a little shell shock. They get a little too happy out there, and we got to bring them back in. But then also, there's times when they do, Wanda, they do. Like
I
going to
understand,
college
that's
is a
why
big
I'm laughing.
deal, like
I
they
know,
get a
I
little too
understand.
happy, a
Uh-huh.
little too happy.
I'm
And so we
laughing
kind of
because I
like
think I
say,
was one of those students. That's
"You was
why
one of
I'm
those kids,
laughing. I was a little
one of
happy
those
away from
kids
my
that
mama.
it's like you realize like, oh, I don't have to get up for school every single day. I have class at 9 a.m. and then I'll have my next class to 1 p.m. And then you don't know how to find yourself to your 1 p.m. class. So that's when Miss Chaka
Yeah.
gets a call. That's when Miss Chaka gets a call from your mother to say, I need
Mhm.
you. So we have our alumni network as well. And our alumni network is awesome because as our students are on college campuses, when we're taking our kids on the college tours, we get to visit and see our alumni. And then our current high school
Nice.
students get to see, like, oh, that's a Connecticut student, a New Haven born student here. They made it. I can make it too. And that connection is just real. I love it when we go on our college tours and our alumni come along the tour with us, and like they see their friends or they see, like, and now we're at the
Is
point where go ahead.
No, I was gonna say because I just got excited. I remember on my campus, we had different, organizations like the Connecticut branch, and we would have the group of people from Connecticut. Have you ever thought about expanding Higher Heights into those little mini sections on college campuses? For
Yes.
you're smiling, so that means yes. You
Yes.
ahead of the game,
Yes.
Jaka. That's
Yes. Especially
awesome.
at Howard, where we have a
Mhm.
lot of students attend. Hampton, we have a lot of students attend. Norfolk State. Um, there's some schools where we've always had a good group of students. I mean, like three or four that are there. Yes, yes, yes,
That's
yes, yes.
awesome.
Even it is right, and even so, when we're staying connected with our alumni, I'm group texting people all the time. Like, hey, so and so, I want to introduce you to so and so. You're going to this school. They're already at this school. And then my kids, my alumni, like they know. So they take the reins. They're like, hi, so and so. Yes, my name is such and such. Let's meet. Let's do this. Let's do that. So it's just like one hand washes the other
That's
and they
awesome.
just take care of each other. It's a really beautiful thing.
I think I interjected. So let's go back to the because I got excited for a minute. You're the Connecticut College Access Network. We were speaking about that one and going to trips, taking to going to colleges and whatnot. Do you do in-state colleges and branch out to those HBCUs we just spoke about? You do both of them? Yeah.
We do. So let me go back a little bit about the network, and then I'll come back to the trips. The network
Okay.
has three focus areas, just three. We go in and we provide technical support and on the ground support for any high school who wants to join our network around three initiatives. Helping students apply to college. So that's where our partnership with the Common Black Common App comes in, and
Mhm.
also the regular Common App. We also support the FAFSA challenge, so helping with
What have
financial literacy
Mhm.
all throughout, right? And then it's the celebration. So it's decision day. So in all of our partner schools around May, we throw like these huge semi parties in schools to celebrate every single senior's post secondary decision, whether it's military, trade, 2 year or 4 year schools, and even our students with special needs. We
Mhm.
celebrate them as well because they may be going into a post education program for long term education care. Everyone gets celebrated. That that's what we do, and that's through that network. So we provide that level of support to schools to make that happen.
Forgive my ignorance because I have always mentioned I graduated from high school years ago and we did not have decision day like they like they have it now. It's exciting. I look forward to it all up and down social media every year. Did that start with Higher Heights Decision Day?
No, no,
Okay.
Decision Day celebrations actually started with Michelle Obama, First Lady Michelle Obama. It came
Okay.
out of her initiative with a national organization called
Administration.
Reach Higher. Yep,
Okay.
it came out of the
And then
Obama
every state just
administration, and
adopted it.
right,
Because I
but,
I
you
I
know, we
feel
start
I feel cheated. We didn't have that back in the 90s.
I'm
I
sorry.
feel robbed.
I didn't have
She said, "I'm
it either.
sorry."
I didn't listen, Wanda, truth be told, I didn't have any of these experiences that I do for kids, and my mother was a school
Yeah,
teacher. So, nothing. I didn't have any college tours, none of this. I didn't even have that, and I came from a home that should have been able to provide those things for me. So that
yeah,
speaks to also you don't know what a kid has and what a kid doesn't have just because they may come from a two-family home. Does that mean that that family has the know-how
right.
to put them through the process?
Especially as it relates to the FAFSA, the forms. We knew about it. That's how you do financial aid, but the knowledge behind it, doing it every single year. When I got to school, I did not know that was something you needed. You have to keep reapplying for that. So I'm glad you're doing the education part for the FAFSA, not just for the students, but for the families.
Yes, could be, and I do it from a personal standpoint. Again, my mother was a New York City public school teacher. She never did the FAFSA.
Hmm.
She didn't have a clue. I did the FAFSA for myself. When my brothers got ready to go to college, I had to do their FAFSA. My mother to this day doesn't know what it just didn't happen that way. If
Yeah,
maybe if she was like a high school teacher or something like that, maybe it would have been in her wheelhouse, but it just was not in her wheelhouse. She was a fourth grade teacher. That's all that she focused on. The college piece was just not in her wheelhouse. She said, "Chaka, seems like you got it. Go ahead, go go figure it out."
have it
So
exactly. And then also, it's not just offered inside high schools. I know you work with school counselors, which is great, but it doesn't just stop with school counselors. Back when I was in school, it started and stopped with the school counselors. Now we have so many outside resources that our students can call, go to, and find out more information about the transition to school. So I think that's commendable. Talk to us a little bit about the events you have coming up for FAFSA.
So in New Haven, and then there's going to be replicated events in Waterbury. In New Haven, starting on the week of October 5th, we will be at the Dixwell Q House every other week for in-person FAFSA completion and on-site college application assistance. I myself will be there along with my
Nice.
staff to help families complete the FAFSA. It has changed. It has changed even from last year. And so we're providing
Wow.
these on-site assistance. You can register on our website for any of the sessions that are coming up. Let us know also if you need translation services. We do have staff who are bilingual, and so we want to make sure that we're providing support to all families. So we'll be at the Dixwell Q House starting in October, all the way through, I think, Wanda, to January, the end of January.
Nice. That's
Yeah.
amazing. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
so that allows, folks to come, get supports, and then come back, right? You come one week and you're like, "Oh, yeah, I get it." Then you go home, you're like, "Oh my god, I don't even remember what she said." And then I'll be back again. Um,
Very
so
nice.
we have that on October 25th, Wednesday, October 25th, in partnership with the Board of Alders in New Haven and the Dixwell Q House Youth Advisory Board. We're hosting a college fair for New Haven Public School students on October 25th. There'll be 40 colleges there. Um, Assistant
Nice.
Superintendent Keisha Hannings is supporting us with that work, so we're excited about that. We have our weekend college access program that I talked to you about. Where we're at 50 students, but that program is going to take all of the students there in grades 9 through 12 through the entire college application process. Um, I feel like I'm missing. Oh, on Tuesday, October 3rd, we are
Okay.
hosting a webinar in partnership with the Common Application. Um, I serve on the National Advisory Board for Common App. And so we're going to be hosting a webinar for students and families around how to use the app, how to submit their college applications, and we're going through step by step. So that information will be on our website shortly. That webinar, it's a webinar. So, and it's in the
Mm-hmm.
evenings. So we're hoping to get as many students, high school seniors, public, private, doesn't matter, on the webinar so we can break those steps down for them. We have the support of school counselors around that because they'll be sharing that information with families. I know you mentioned earlier, like, the school counselors are the first point and the last point, and that is very true. But our school counselors are also taxed with so much right now.
Mm-hmm.
They just need a lot of support. And
Yep.
so the schools that we're partnering with, they appreciate us because it's not a competition. It's like, "No, you're helping me do my job."
Mm-hmm.
And we're doing it in partnership alongside because at the end of the day, the person who we all got into this for to win is a student and they
Yes.
win. And so I just wanted to also put that out there that, like we do this in partnership, not to overstep school counselors or take their place. That's not the case ever at all. But any school counselor who's ever worked with us will say, like, no, we love higher heights. We need higher heights in our buildings. They help us
That's
a lot.
awesome.
But yes, I think
What
that's
about the
all around.
webinar? Where do you register?
The webinar for October 3rd will be live this coming week on our website for families to register.
Okay.
And then for the FAFSA one-on-ones, that's live already. You can go on our website
Okay.
now and sign up for those sessions.
And what's the website?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's www It's www.higherheightsyouth.net. So HIGHERHEIGHTSYOUTH.net. And then everyone can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook, with the handle at HHYEP_, to stay
Mhm.
connected with us as well.
And I always ask that, and then someone will call and say, "I heard her say, I don't remember," which is why I'm writing it down so I will have it next to me when the phone rings and I can answer and give it to you. So I got you. I got you. Uh, Anything else you want to give us because you have so much going on. I said every woman because you are involved in the people business. What about
Yeah.
the diversity and inclusion, equity and inclusion? Anything you want to touch on that before we wrap up?
Yeah, if there are school districts who need our support around the training of that, look, we live in Connecticut. Let's just be very, very clear about that.
Mhm.
Our predominantly minority spaces are in Waterbury, Bridgeport, New Britain, New Haven, but there are other spaces where students are going. And we need to be prepared to support them, not to shy away from that. So if there are school districts who want us to come in and provide professional development to support that, please reach out to us, because we just want to make sure that all of our students are taken care of as much as they possibly can, and that all
Yeah.
educators, teachers, administrators, janitors, custodians, like everyone has all the tools in order to support, because our students aren't just like staying in one bubble. They are going
Mhm.
out into other places and they need to be supported. Educators need to know what the resources are so that all students can be supported. So feel free to reach out to us, for that professional development.
I had a chance to speak with, oh, and that's another question. I had a chance to speak with one of the assistants over at New Haven Promise and asked her this question, which I'm about to ask you. But before I do, have you partnered with New Haven Promise as of yet?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. And we're
Uh,
also a strong partner with Waterbury Promise and Waterbury as well.
nice. So, where should high school students right now who are considering going away to college or just anything post graduation, where should they be? What should they have done? What should they start doing today? Freshman, sophomore,
What
junior, senior.
Okay, that's what I was gonna ask you. So, well well, any student, this is what I would say, even if it's a freshman and it's only the first, couple of months of school right now. One thing, if go back to my story, right? You need to create a vision for what you want. And if you say to me, "Oh, well, Dr. Chaka, like I'm too young, I don't know what it is," that's fine. You may not know like what the vision is, but you do know what you like. You know
Yes.
what you like, and you know what you don't like. So one of the things I tell students all the time, because they can't really grasp like the whole vision purpose thing yet, is the things that you like to do, the way that you'll know that it's where you're supposed to be, it's if it brings you joy, and number two, if it's beneficial to everyone around you, including yourself. So if it's beneficial to you and everyone else around you and it brings you joy, that's the thing that you need to explore. Now, the other thing to know is that might be for now. Come
Mhm.
June, when you grow, you have different friends, you have different experiences, things will shift. And I tell my high school students all the time, be open to that shift. It is okay. There's nothing wrong with that for you to start exploring different things. That's why Higher Heights, we ground ourselves in our job is to expose students to their opportunities so that
Yes.
when it's time for you to make a decision, you can sit back and say, Higher Heights expose me to this laundry list of things. And now I get to pick and choose versus
Mhm.
I don't have options. When you don't have options, that's a different conversation. So that's what I would tell any high school student right now. Start thinking about what you like to do. Does it bring you joy? And does it benefit you and everyone else around you?
It's funny that you say that because I just had this conversation with my son who is in high school, and we're having these talks, these conversations about majors, what school would you like to attend, which schools would you like to look when we go out on our own to check out these schools. And just this weekend my son said to me, I want a job that makes the most bread. And I said, no, no,
Okay.
no, that's not what we're gonna do though, because we don't chase money. You have to do what you enjoy because that's the one that's gonna last, and then the money comes. So we need to reshape the way you're thinking. He was like, well, whatever I like, it just has to make bread. Like, all right, we have work to do. He's 14 and
And
it's
that
a process.
he's he's 14 and it's a process. Here's what I would tell parents. Your job is to expose them to so
Yeah.
many different things that it's like information overload. But don't be surprised if they wake up one day and they go, "Okay, I like that," and then they change their mind, and you're like, "But I thought you said this. I thought you said that." I mean, I'm doing that right now. I have a 16-year-old and a 13-year-old, and I
Oh
thought my
wow.
13-year-old wanted one thing, and then the next thing I know, she wants something else, and I'm like, I can't keep up. And I'm the one who
Hmm.
does this for a living. So, I
It's a
mean,
lot of changing, but they're
um,
discovering who they are.
they're
And then there's
discovering who
still
they are.
adults. Adults still are
There you
discovering
go.
who they are. So it's okay. It's the journey.
It is the journey. I wish more adults would just be open to accepting the kid's journey.
Hmm. Yeah.
Mhm.
Even when you
But
get
it
to school, not knowing, I say this all the time when I'm speaking to someone about college. If you don't know what the major is when you get to school, that's fine. It's okay. It'll come to you. We just encourage education. That's all. It'll come to you. Don't
so
worry about it.
it'll come to you. Listen, I went to Buffalo State. I didn't say this to you. Remember my grandmother wanted me to be an interior designer?
Hmm.
I went to Buffalo State. That was my initial major. Wanda, I only was in that
Really?
major for one I was only in that major for 1 week. Okay?
This is
I
not
got
it.
up
This is
there.
not it.
I was in those classes and I was just like, "Oh no, this is not for me."
Hmm.
I went to my advisor and I was like, "No, we need to drop this major right now. This is not for
At
me."
least you knew it
So
though. You have to be open to the change, and at least it started with you knowing, no, this is not it. I don't know what it is yet, but this is not it.
it was
I
not
understand.
it. And I'm glad I didn't waste like 4 years of like my own money
Exactly.
to figure it out. But for some kids, they just gotta figure it out.
I love it. I love it. This is Chaka. After we wrap up this interview, now I got to play some Chaka Khan since you corrected me on the
You know
name.
it.
So we're going to go into
Hey,
that. We're going to go into that. I want to thank you for your time, for your information. That was information overload, and she already gave you everything that you need to know about how to reach her and contact her and follow the organization, everything that's going on social media. So make sure you do it. And if you missed it, call me so I can get the information to you. Thank you so much for your time today.
I appreciate you, Miss Wanda. Thank you.
All right, you have R&B coming in after this, a little Chaka Chaka Khan and more. So keep it locked in. Join me back here next Sunday for another episode of The Electric Drum. It's WYBC.